guys, it's Rubus Hagrid with my spectre specs, and I was thinking, why would I don't doing reading Harry Potter on YouTube? Excusez-moi. So, I'm gonna read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the American book version. It's hardcover, and I'm also doing it in Flamish. And I'm gonna. This is the Flamish book, Harry Potter and the SRRY. I've read it once. So let's get started. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. By J.K. Rowling. Let's get started. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Lived. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. They were the last people you'd accept to be involved in anything strange or mysterious, because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnings, which made drills. He was a big, beefy man with hardly any neck. Although he did have a very large moustache. Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde. Blonde. Seriously, in the movies, she is brown-haired. And had nearly twice the usual amount of neck, which came in very useful as she spent so much of her time craning over garden fences, spying on neighbors. The Dursleys had a small son called Dudley, and in their opinion, there was no finer boy anywhere. The Dursleys had everything they want, but they also had a secret, and their greatest fear was that somebody will discover it. They didn't think they could bear it if anyone found out about the Potters. Mr. Potter was Mr. Dursley's sister, but they hadn't met for several years. In fact, Mrs. Dursley pretended she didn't have a sister, because her sister and her good-for-nothing husband were as un-Dursleying as it was possible to be. The Dursleys shuddered to think what neighbors would say if the Potters arrived in the streets. The Dursleys knew that the Potter had a small son too, but they had never even seen him. This boy was another good reason for keeping the Potters away. They didn't want Dudley I can't speak today. Mixing with a child like that. When Mr. and Mrs. Dursley woke up on the tall, grey Tuesday, our story starts. There was nothing about the coldly sky outside to suggest that strange and serious things would soon be happening all over the country. Mr. Dursley hummed as he picked out his most boring tie for work, and Mrs. Dursley gossiped away happily as she wrestled a screaming Dudley into his high chair. Gosh! None of them noticed a large Tawny owl further past the window. At 8:30, Mr. Dursley picked up his briefcase, pecked Mr. Dursley on the cheek, and tried to kiss Dudley goodbye. Dudley goodbye, but missed, because Dudley was now having a tantrum and throwing his cereal on the walls. Little Tyke startled Mr. Dursley as he left the house. He got into his car and backed up of number 4 Drive. Number 4's Drive. It was on the corner of the street that he noticed the first sign of something peculiar. A cat reading a map. For a second, Mr. Dursley didn't realize what he had seen. Then he jerked his head around to look again. There was Tabby Cat standing on the corner of Privet Drive, but there wasn't a map in sight. What could he have been thinking of? It must have been a trick of the light. Mr. Dursley blinked and started at the cat. It started back as Mr. Dursley drove around the corner and up the road. He watched the cat in his mirror. It was now reading the sign that said Privet Drive. No, looking at the sign. Cats couldn't read maps or signs. Mr. Dursley gave himself a little shake and put the cat out of his mind. As he drove toward town, he thought of nothing except a large order of drills he was hoping to get that day. But on the edge of town, drills were driven out of his mind by something else. As he sat in the usual morning traffic jam, he couldn't help noticing that there seemed to be a lot of strangely dressed people about, people in cloaks. Mr. Dursley couldn't bear people who dressed in funny clothes. The get-ups you saw on young people. He supposed this was some stupid new fashion. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel and his eyes fell on a huddle of these weirdos standing quiet closely by. They were whispering accidentally together. Mr. Dudley was arranged to see that a couple of them weren't young at all. Why that man had to be older than he was and wearing an immortal green cloak? The nerve of him. But then it struck Mr. Dursley that his way probably some silly stunt. The people who were obviously collecting for something, yes, that will be it. The traffic moved on a few minutes later. Focus! Mr. Dursley arrived in the grinning Sparkle, his mind back on drills. Mr. Dursley always sat with his back to the window in his office on the 9th floor. If he hadn't, he might have found it harder to concentrate on drills that morning. Seriously, can he even think at drills? Oh, gosh. He didn't see the owls swooping past in broad daylight. Focus! Concentration! Harry Potter! Best day ever. Sorry. That's Dobby. Okay, focus. Past in broad daylight, two people down the street. They pointed and grazed open-mouthed as owl after owls panned overhead. Most of them had never seen an owl even at nighttime. Mr. Dursley, however, had a perfectly normal owl-free morning. He yelled at 5 different people. Yell. Focus. He made several important telephone calls and shouted a bit more. He was in a very good mood until lunchtime, when he thought he'd stretch his legs and walked across the road to buy himself a bun from the bakery. He'd forgotten all about the people in cloaks until he passed a group of them next to the baker's. He eyed them angrily as he passed. He didn't know why, but they made him uneasy. His punch were whispering accidentally too, and he couldn't see a single collecting tin. It was on his way back past them, clutching a large donut in a bag, that he caught a few words of what they were saying. The Potters, that's right. That's what I heard. Yes, their son. Harry! Mr. Dursley stopped that. Fearful at him, he looked back and Focus! I can't speak today. So horrible. He dashed back across the road, hurried up his office, snapped at his secretary not to disturb him, signed his telephone, and had almost finished dialing his home number when he changed his mind. He put the receiver back down and stroked his mustache, thinking, no. He was being stupid. Potter wasn't such an unusual name. Seriously, not an unusual name. If someone is watching, have Potter as last name, you are totally out of control, awesome. You are so lucky if you have it. He was sure there were lots of people called Potter who had a son called Harry. Seriously, if you called Harry Potter, please let me know. And I will send you a letter. A letter, where's the letter? Oh yeah, letters. This is the letter. Okay, whatever. Come to think of it, he wasn't even sure his new nephew was called Harry. He'd never ever even seen the boy. It might have been Harvey, seriously, or Harold. Harold, no. There was no point in worrying Mrs. Dursley. She always got so upset at any mention of her sister. He didn't blame her if he'd had a sister like that. But all the same, those people in cloaks. He found it a lot harder to concentrate on drills that afternoon, and when he left the building at 5 o'clock, he was still so worried that he walked straight into someone just outside the door. Sorry, he grinned, as the tiny old man stumbled and almost fell. It was a few seconds before Mr. Dursley realized that the man was wearing a violet cloak. Violet cloak. Double. Sorry. He didn't seem at all upset at being almost knocked to the ground. On the contrary, his face split into a wide smile, and he said in a squeaky voice that made passers-by stare, "Don't be sorry, my dear sir, for nothing could upset me today. Rejoice, for you know who was gone at last. Even muggles like yourself should be celebrating this happy day." And the old man hugged Mr. Dursley around the middle and walked off. Mr. Dursley stood rounded to the spot. He had been hugged by a completed stranger. He also thought he had been called a muggle, whatever that was. Muggle is non-magical folk. Concentrate! Hagrid, it's only in chapter 4, and we chapter 1. Okay, I'm gonna do it like this. Okay, I'm gonna do it like this. You can see. Mr. He had been hugged by. He was rattled. He hurried to his car and set off for home, hoping he was imagining things which he had never hoped before, because he didn't approve of imagination. As he pulled into the driveway of number 4, the first thing he saw, and it didn't improve his mood, was that heavy cat had spotted morning. It was now standing on his garden wall. He was sure it was the same one. It had the same markings around the eyes. Shoo! How do you say it? Shoo? Okay. Look. No, I'm talking in Flamish. I mean, look! It's here. How do you call it? Here. Oh no. It's mirror, I guess. Shoo! Said Mr. Dursley loudly. Oh my god, there are so much. Okay, that was the first 6 pages of Harry Potter and the Sorcerere Stone. I'm gonna mark it with my thing. Every book has a marker, and this I'm not gonna use because of Order of the Phoenix. I'm gonna use the Goblin Letter from Hogwarts. Okay. Here. Boom! Harry Potter. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for part 2 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerere Stone, Chapter 1. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Lived. Again, thanks for watching, and I don't know, but you can't see me reading this Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in Flamish. It is also amazing. I've read it 100 times. See, the pages are not good anymore. So, I don't know if English can understand it, but you can see it. I'm gonna tell what's on. It is Harry, I guess, flying on his broomstick with a snitch. Oops. And here is Hedwig with a letter of Hogwarts. I'm gonna read it. And here is a HB. So, thanks for watching. See this video. I'm gonna go back tomorrow. Maybe, or if I have 1,000 views. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Thanks for watching. Watch it in Flamish. You can actually learn it. Thank you. For those not in it, here is a Gryffindor banner and a Slytherin because I'm a Slytherin. Yeah. So now I'm gonna take my apologies potion and go